Hey everybody, and welcome back to Dude's Brunch. It's a podcast about pop culture, internet garbage, and black coffee. I'm your host, Taylor Olmstead, and with me this week is Sean Evans. Sean Evans, what did you have for brunch today?
For brunch today, I had leftover turkey bacon and eggs that I made. Well, we made yesterday, as in Sarah and I.
How do you reheat leftover eggs without them just becoming weird gelatinous goop?
How do you make your eggs?
I guess that's what I'm asking you. You reheated leftover eggs from yesterday?
Yeah, I scrambled these eggs and then put them in a frying pan and then fried them up.
Okay. I didn't realize you could do that.
I mean, I don't put them in there. I put them in there for maybe 10 seconds.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't yeah.
And Ben Pentecost is here. Ben, what did you have for brunch today?
I did not eat this morning. So that's why I didn't even have my coffee this morning. It was a rough day.
Oh my God.
I was awful.
You are such a sad boy.
I was awful grumpy at work today.
You know, you're a growing boy, Ben. You need your brunch.
I just need my coffee, man. I care less about food.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I'm your host, Taylor, and for brunch this morning, I had a super bachelor brunch. I had cold pizza and a potato pancake and coffee. It was basically clean out the fridge brunch.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah, I am not proud of my actions, but sometimes that's just what you gotta do.
Because you don't have control over what you're going to have for brunch. You just have it.
That's exactly right. The brunch happens to you. Well, before we get into tonight's topic, I did have a fun little piece of follow-up. You may recall a few weeks ago, we did a piece of internet garbage where we talked about trying to sing the words to Pearl Jam songs. And Marco and Tiffany Arment on their podcast Top 4 this month did the Top 4 Most Unintelligible Eddie Vedder Lyrics. So if you thought our impressions of Pearl Jam were funny and you are that kind of masochist, you can go listen to them talk about Pearl Jam for 36 minutes. It's actually pretty funny. I kind of just want there to be a Pearl Jam cover band, but they only sing what Pearl Jam songs sound like they're saying, not the actual lyrics. It's like bad lip reading, but for grunge music.
Yeah, I imagine that's a thing that might already exist.
If not, I propose that this be you and Sean's new project.
Oof, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, man, I have to ask this podcast. I don't understand what you want me to do with a new one.
You could call it Gerald Pam.
Gerald Pam. No, you have to name it some song that you like. That's how all the cover bands do it. You're not actually called like I saw a Deftones cover band called White Pony. You know, you never actually something, some stuff mixed around. You're like an album name. So we could be like Rearview Mirror or something.
But it's Pearl Jam, so you would have to be like what that thing sounds like when Eddie Vedder says it, not what the actual word is.
Oh, what if we're called At Home, but instead of saying At Home, it said At Home?
Yes, and you have to spell that out.
or like Ebb and Flow, but it's like that.
How would you write that in letters, Sean?
I'm not really sure. I'd have to consult some kind of crypto linguist for that.
Well, I guarantee you it doesn't start with an E. So our topic this week is, of course, a music topic because Ben Pentecost is here. And he actually brought this one to us. Ben, what's going on with Lana Del Rey?
Okay, so recently, Lana Del Rey via Twitter posted that she was in a lawsuit with Radiohead because her song is apparently very similar to Radiohead's song Creep. So she tweets this a couple weeks ago. Everyone hops all over it, saying there's this big fight now between Lana Del Rey and Radiohead. And then it comes out about a week later that she was just being dramatic. And it turns out Radiohead is asking her for credit for this song. Because it pretty much is Creep, if you take a listen to it. So where we're at now, apparently, this has been going on since October, that Radiohead's lawyers have been asking her for credit, and she doesn't want to give them credit. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, so I guess on first listen, for both of you, Ben, you said that it sounds a lot like Radiohead's Creep to you. Sean, what did you think? Does it sound like Creep?
No,
Really?
It doesn't.
You don't
it
think
doesn't.
so?
Why do you say that?
Well, you see, first you should say what the song is so people can go out and listen to it.
Oh, did we not mention the name of the song?
No, we didn't mention the name of the song.
Oh, so the song is called Get Free. It's really inconsequential. It's a new Lana Del Rey song. It's called Get Free. It's like any other Lana Del Rey song.
Not that.
It's new-ish.
Yeah. All right. So I actually like really thought this one out. I wanted to get prepared for this one. So just to kind of let you guys know, like upfront jury status, where I went home and like reconstructed the crime scene in my bathtub. I have actually like, I know how to play this song on like guitar. I have learned it. And I listened to this song, and at first when I heard the chorus, I was like, okay, I get it. It does sound like it. But if you've listened to the rest of the song, that's about it. And it's not that close. Like, I went and listened to every cover that you could find on Apple Music of Creep to see if it was anything that close. And you know what? Like, I think you could make a good argument, a very compelling one, that it's not.
I'm actually with you, Sean. I feel like it's the pre-chorus and the first line of the chorus of Get Free that sound like Creep. It has that same kind of like minor build that Tom York's vocal melody does in the Radiohead song. But outside of that, I really don't see a whole lot of resemblance. I can understand why Radiohead might find enough similarity to go for a copyright claim, because it really doesn't take much. But the coverage of this has made it seem like she basically just rewrote this Radiohead song, and I don't think that's what's going on here at all.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I think that's why, like, I kind of want to jump on this and say, like, and disclaimer as well, that I'm not proficient in copyright law. I don't really know exactly what that all looks like, but there is a noticeable distinction. And even asking her to say, like, on the album that have them as like a feature or as credit it's a little heavy-handed, you know, because if you're gonna say that, I think any band, take for example Aerosmith, if you're going to make good music at a certain period of time and then just let your whole discography go into crap, why doesn't Radiohead just, you know, why doesn't Aerosmith demand that Radiohead credit them for that kind of move? I know that's like an extreme example that won't make sense in like 2.5 minutes, but...
Well, and I do think like...
Sorry.
There is a little bit of added validity to these claims. We'll link in the show notes to an article that Ben shared with us that compares note for note the vocal melodies. And it says that 24 of the 44 notes in the verses are identical, which is a little more than half. And I do think that that's a little bit concerning. I think that's where you start to get into like some plagiaristic territory, but
I just think that's condensing it a little. I like this article that you're talking about because it gets into the theoretical aspect of it, but the way it compares it, where it's just note for note, that's a little too condensed. That like you can't. I don't think you could really make a case just by like straight up numbers, just like this many notes versus this many notes. Because when you get into stuff like does it sound the same, you got to look at the big picture. Which again, I don't know. I feel the opposite of you guys. I think like the note value does kind of add up with how I feel about it. I think a lot of it does sound the same, but there's enough to make it different.
Like, I think, too, if you're just comparing, like, if you're looking for, like, a sequence of notes, if you, like, changed it to how much, like, so overall notes of the entire album, of the entire song, versus like, Creep by Radiohead, the ratio is probably much lower. So I think it just depends on how you want to, like, you know, make the numbers present themselves. I don't think that is an accurate way to say, like, oh, well, yeah, if you look at it, because if you look at it from that point, yeah, you're probably right. You could probably come up with some kind of argument that is compelling that would say, like, this is a unlicensed cover. But I don't know. I really feel like in terms of like artistic integrity here, like I want to give her the credit, you know, like because I think maybe it's a slippery slope to make this argument, but like you claim this now, and you know what makes some other artists stop from doing it? You know, like, oh God, like you wrote the same 3 chords as me, but you used them in a different way, or maybe you put them in a different, you know, like you capoed the guitar, and now it's the same, even though like. The song is different. The song is different.
Ben, do you think the song is that different? Because it doesn't sound like you do.
I'm in the middle. I understand. It sounds like an original song by Lana Del Rey. I give her credit for that. But I just like, as soon as I turned this on, I just instantly was like, oh yeah, Radiohead. Because it's like, it moves in a similar way. It's maybe not the overall like note for note or it's not like exactly the same melody, but there's like, it's similar enough that when you hear this song, like my mind instantly goes, oh yeah, Creep.
Yeah, I
don't think you're wrong in that.
I agree with you there, Ben, and I think, like, I only heard this song in the context of this dispute. I wasn't chomping at the bit to go listen to the new Lana album, you know? She is not my national anthem, but I did hear the similarities for sure on the first listen, but I think, it's going to be hard for anybody to think about this song outside of the context of Creep at this point. Like, I feel like this song is forever branded with, like, the Scarlet Sea of Creep by Radiohead for the rest of its life,
Sure, I get that.
I mean, do you think that's problematic for Lana? Like, do you feel like that devalues the song?
I don't feel like that. I don't agree with you.
Why not?
I think that a lot of Lana Del Rey fans who are of like a younger generation, they probably don't have any idea who Radiohead is.
That's a contentious claim.
It is.
He says, and then immediately drops it.
I mean, no, it totally is. I mean, this is our podcast, and we can just go on saying like that. Radiohead's overrated.
I won't argue with you there.
I agree with that.
Like, and name, like, you guys probably can, because, if you're into rock and roll, you know about Radiohead. But, like, name another song by Radiohead that had as much widespread appeal as Creep.
Maybe Karma Police. Maybe.
Yeah.
Nah. I want to put that up there with Creep. I agree with Sean on this one.
I mean, it's not like they're bad, but the thing is, like, my argument, and Sarah and I listened to like all these covers and like this song over and over. We probably listened to this song like 10 times because we were on a 7-hour drive. But like, there's just nothing like we both agreed that we like this song better than Creep. Like, Creep is this like, teenage angsty jaded grunge song that's just like, it's completely different. It's not even the same. If this song had like major distorted guitars and like a different bass line all the way throughout, and like had a barely audible guitar, it would be different. I would say, like, you know what? You're right. This article is right. This song is a complete ripoff of Creep, but it's not. It's not the same thing. Listen to them one to one, and you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about the arrangement. There's so much more strings in the Lana Del Rey piece, and you get a lot more embellishment on those string interludes between her vocals that obviously you don't have space for in Creep because it's kind of an economical little song. But I think there's something to be said too about like just how compelling that vocal melody in the Radiohead song is. And that's not to say that like, she intentionally stole it, because they make the really good point in a couple of these articles that it doesn't really matter what her intentions were. She could have subconsciously used that part of that song. And I think that song has been so popular for so long that it would be totally possible as a songwriter to go into the studio and accidentally write something that sounds really similar to Creep. It's like gonna go down in the canon of one of the best songs of the early 90s.
So I think, for what it sounds like, and I think this might be the broader opinion as well, is that the discussion isn't really like, is it an exact ripoff of the song? Because clearly Lana Del Rey's song is totally different, and there's just some similarities. So the question becomes like, at what point does inspiration become theft? Like that's a big saying in music is that people copying you is the biggest form of flattery. But like, at what point does that become a problem? And I think that's the case here, is from the way, at least the discussion we've had so far, is like there's enough that people notice the similarity, but it's not a complete ripoff. And so like, where do we draw that line? And it's like, it's such a gray area. And that's why it gets like really confusing. And
that's what I mean. It's annoying. Like, it's not even like, I just feel like this is Radiohead, like having their legal team give credit to whoever deserves it. Having like a little, they're gonna have a little pity party for themselves. Maybe they plan on getting some albums out there. It's been 25 years since Creep came out in 1992. So you know what? Like, let's get some publicity out there. Let's like show the world that, if you're all into the 90s and doing your little hipster thing or whatever, come back and listen to some Radiohead, guys, because we can take you to that place.
I don't think that's the case, though, because if the stuff, it's all unverified for the most part, but if this has been going on for months at this point, and Lana Del Rey just now said something, like, what would Radiohead have to gain,
And especially on Creep, because Radiohead are so vocal about hating that song. That's like the added layer on top of all this that I find so fascinating, of like, of course, the one time that Radiohead gets involved, or the two times rather, that Radiohead gets involved in high profile copyright lawsuits, it's over a song that they publicly despise and refuse to play live.
Well, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that you're not like benefiting off of it somehow. You know, I'm sure that Rick Astley hates going around and having everybody be like, "Oh, Rick," and he's like, "Oh my God, if I have to sing this, if I have to like talk about like Never Gonna Give You Up one more time, like I wish I could just purge this from the internet." But you know that he still gets royalties off that stuff if he owns it.
Yeah, and I think that's really my question in this is, where is this coming from? Is this coming from Radiohead themselves, or is it coming from the label that still owns the rights to Creep? Because it's not really made clear, and I don't think we'll know until after the settlement. We may never know, because it's probably going to be a closed-door settlement. It's not going to be a public trial. And I would think that this is probably the label, because I just can't. It would be such bad PR for Radiohead to go through this protracted legal fight with Lana Del Rey over a song that they supposedly don't even like, just for the money.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It's weird too, and this kind of makes it hard to talk about because it's all this is just unverified, and for the most part, like Radiohead's publisher put out a statement about it, but it was really just kind of like, oh yeah, this is true, and like we don't really have any information. So like,
yeah, it's very different from the Vanilla Ice, David Bowie, Under Pressure, like discussion from 20 years ago, you know, where that was all fought out in the court of public opinion. So, Ben, as a scholar of music, do you feel like these are cash grab lawsuits, just like trying to like pick out tiny similarities, or do you really think like we've just reached a point in pop music where things are going to be derivative, and that's just like a reality of it, and we're going to keep seeing these lawsuits?
It's hard to tell because, I mean, obviously I'm sure there's a lot more than we know about, but I feel like frivolous copyright lawsuits is a pretty rampant thing in the music business because it's so easy to say, oh, well, this is the same thing when half the songs, you know, you hear on the radio are the same chord progression and everything's derivative of the same kind of influences anymore. But it's hard to tell for me. I think in this case, I'm not sure, honestly. I never really thought about it that way. Like, I would say no. If we're speaking from just because what you talked about earlier, just with Radiohead, how they hate Creep, and like they're very public about not playing it and how much they dislike the song. So it wouldn't. I don't think it would make sense for them to just do something like this just for money, unless it was actually the label, you know.
Yeah, I get a little bit skeeved out by the idea of like this going on as a perpetual part of popular music for the next however many years. But I kind of think like when you talk about everything being derivative of the same influences, it does feel like, especially right now as we're going through this kind of like retro revival of like funk sounds in the R&B scene and weird 80s pastiche in the pop and alternative scene, like these are all living creators that current creators are doing homage to, or whatever they're calling it. And so when you're doing that with like artists that are still alive and still making money off their music, it kind of makes sense that we're going to see more of these lawsuits, because that's their livelihood, you know. I guess that's what concerns me more than anything, is that as this industry continues, it seems like we're recycling things from, you know, 20 years ago and then 10 years ago and then 5 years ago. Like it just seems like we're going to see more and more and more of this as we keep getting more and more derivative.
Like, let's say you were going to go to a district court and you were going to appeal appeal ruling. You might find, or you're like going to change a law or something. Lots of cases. There's probably a better word for this, but the one I can think of is like a test case. And the whole idea of a test case in law, or like a Supreme Court law, or in like appellate law, is that you like find a situation that's kind of outstanding, and then you kind of work it up. You kind of like work it through the court system in a way to like shape policy. And these test cases, more notable ones, usually come up in times when it's like there's a atmosphere that's accommodating, like the issue is ripe. Maybe this is it. Maybe we're at this time right now where there's a lot of legal gray area. There's there's a lot of ownership issues. There's a lot of confusion about what's going on. Media, not in a bad way, music media, and I actually kind of like it, and it doesn't bother me, is that it's kind of looking back to kind of see like what influences you and kind of calling on these influences. Maybe not citing them publicly, but calling on them. I don't know. That's its own thing. But like sampling has always been an issue too. This isn't like the 21st century issue. But like maybe that's what's kind of annoying to me about all this. Is like, it has nothing to do with music. It has nothing to do with like making something that's easy to listen to or progressing the art. It has everything to do with whatever is going on outside of it. And you can blame it on whatever. I can come up with excuses like, revenues are small and we need to like find a way to eke out pennies here and there because the system isn't based on albums anymore. Or, like artists genuinely hate the fact that they are dead as soon as it's recorded and now everybody can interpret it whatever they want and whatever else. But I don't know. It's just crazy. It's just so dumb. I think that's why it just drives me crazy.
You say it drives you crazy, Sean. Do you feel like it detracts from your ability to enjoy either of these songs?
No, it doesn't at all. It just like it doesn't. It really doesn't. I like the Lana Del Rey one more, but I feel like I'm much more. What basically upsets me is I feel like these two artists seem to be being used in a way that is completely un-rock and roll and artistic and everything like that. And that's pretty disgusting.
Ben, does this detract from either of the songs for you?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, because this doesn't like concern me at all. I don't care who wrote what or who gets credit for what. But I tend to listen to music as in kind of like a vacuum. Like I'll just hear a song and go, oh, this is that Radiohead song or this is that Lana Del Rey song. And I don't really, like I'll listen to it and be like, oh yeah, there's that like lawsuit, but I'm not going to listen to it and be like, damn, Lana Del Rey copied this song. What a bitch. Like I'm not going to like go around and do that,
That sounds right, though. That's honestly what I wanted to say when I first heard this. I was like, Lana Del Rey, you jerk. Taking that Radiohead song, making kids like it again. You're the worst.
I don't think it detracts for me, but it's always going to be in my awareness from this point forward, right? So, like, there are certain songs that I feel like exist within their historical context. Not every song, because some songs are just good songs and they exist outside of time. But a song like this, or like Sean made a vague reference earlier to Mili Vanili, and that one Mili Vanili song where they got caught lip syncing on TV, or in concert, sorry. That will forever be like an important moment in music, and I feel like I can never divorce that song from that moment.
You're right.
And so I do worry a little bit about this particular Lana Del Rey song getting like caught up in this moment and never like being able to separate. And I think the sad part about that is history will probably forget much of Lana Del Rey.
History will forget. If Radiohead gets into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I will be blown away.
I would bet you $100 that they get in. If not the first year they're eligible, then probably the second.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
I will be blown away then.
I don't think they should be in there.
It's all political. They'll certainly get in before Lana Del Rey does. For starters, they'll be eligible before she is, so there's that. But no, it does worry me a little bit that, the small hits that Lana Del Rey has had prior to this will pale in comparison to that one time that she got in trouble for maybe ripping off Radiohead. And that's unfortunate because I do like her first album a lot, and I still put it on sometimes when I either want to feel sad or want to make fun of people who listen to Lana Del Rey and feel sad.
Oh my God. At least you're honest.
I think that's something else I wanted to talk about too. Because when we get into this, there's like we talk about the copyright law and the is this real or is this not or whatever, or is this valid? But the thing that no one really thinks about in these cases, I think, is what's the impact afterwards? Like, what does this do to the artist's career, or their ability to produce new music and maintain their fan base or grow their fan base? Because I think that's one of the most interesting parts about this to me is what happens to these people afterwards. Because there's so much of this is like, I mean, copyright law is fairly flimsy, and you can get away with a lot of things like just saying, oh, well, this kind of sounds similar, so it's mine, and then you get credit, and then it can ruin someone's career or something. But I don't think we talk about that enough. Is what happens afterward? Like, what would this do to Lana Del Rey's career or Radiohead's remaining career?
Now listen, I'm an expert on Lana Del Rey, and I've come to say that they aren't the same song.
Ladies and gentlemen, returning from the internet wilderness, Dude's Brunch correspondent Tyler Reed reporting live from his apartment.
That's right, it's me.
Tyler, since you're joining us a little bit late, I'm curious, for you, does this whole dispute detract from your enjoyment of either of the songs?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, you're like, oh, that does kind of sound like that song a little bit. So you're like, okay, that's kind of neat. But I mean, I feel like there's a distinct enough difference between the two songs. But it's like, hey, remember those like 3 to 5 years where Rihanna just fucking made songs that were like based off other words or like memes from like 10 years ago, and we didn't like ruin her career over it? That's fine, you know?
Oh yeah, it's totally a sliding scale of like whose career gets ruined over this stuff and whose doesn't. But I think Ben is probably right. Like, time will tell how this affects the two of them. But if I had to guess, Radiohead's going to come out on top here, and it will be another trophy in the pantheon of things Radiohead has won while still being the most overrated band in 21st century rock and roll.
Boom.
Hey, I spent $0 on In Rainbows, and that was the best $0 I ever spent. I've downloaded a lot of free fonts in my time. Let me tell you, In Rainbows is better than all of them.
All right, well, keeping with our vein of possible copyright infringement, you guys, I have a real golden gem of a classic internet garbage for you tonight. I feel a little bit bad because this thing's been around for a while, and I'm sure it's been covered by other shows and podcasts and stuff, but I just laughed so hard at this today, I couldn't not share it with the three of you.
Oh boy, I love to be a skater man.
He was a boy, she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious?
I already love it.
He was a bum, she did ballet. What more can I say? He wanted her, she would never tell. Secretly she wanted him as well.
So, now that I've introduced you all to Dr. KC, let me tell you who he really is. Dr. KC is an actual doctor from India. And at some point or another, he started uploading karaoke videos to YouTube. He started with Bollywood songs and then started doing American pop and rock songs and has done over 1,000 songs. He usually sings them without having ever heard them before. And so you can go through his catalog and find him based on like the first few bars of background, just making up melodies to famous pop songs and singing them. And it's the greatest thing I've seen on the internet in like a week. It's amazing.
He actually started his own, he has like a thing about like, he has a little education thing now too.
Yeah, so the video I sent you guys was his cover of Avril Lavigne's Skater Boy from 2011, which is by far his most popular video. He was featured on Attack of the Show a while ago, if anybody remembers that, from G4, Rip in Peace. But what do you guys think? Are you fans of Dr. KC? Do you appreciate his musical stylings?
I think I just found my new favorite singer. I love his musical stylings. I'm watching Take On Me right now. And I gotta say, it might be better than Aha.
Get it, Ben.
I'm like, okay, I don't know. Is he like doing this in like this is a genuinely he just enjoys doing this, or is it like become a joke now? Like, that's what I want to know about this.
Is this like that other guy that has the really weird video titles and just does like kind of weird stuff for like 5 minutes, and then people are like, this is the greatest content I've ever seen on the internet?
No, I think Dr. KC is really real because he's done 3,000 or something of these songs. Like, it's over 1,000, close to 3,000 is the number that I tend to see. I mean, look in the related videos. He's got AC/DC's Highway to Hell. He's got Justin Bieber's Baby. He's got James Blunt's You Are Beautiful. It has 8.6 thousand views. I mean, don't you want a nice, well-mannered Indian doctor to tell you that you're beautiful through the musical stylings of James Blunt?
I mean, I also understand that, but this fellow that I'm also referring to also has probably a similar catalog of things. So you're like, what? I mean, how long does it take for this to upload? You know, is this like the kind of content that YouTube wants? Is this like, sure, why not? You can have your weird thing. And if enough people like it, sure, we'll pay you for it.
When you get to the chorus of You Are Beautiful, it becomes so clear that he has never heard this song in his life.
I'm going back through his YouTube channel now, and his first 3 videos are how to make a website without spending a cent. And there's 3 10-minute long videos. This is from 8 years ago. So he didn't start here.
Oh.
He's also got horoscopes on there from 8 years ago. There's 8-minute horoscope videos.
This dude generates so much content.
There's a lot on here. This is a lot to get through.
It's Dr. KC's internet, and we're all just living in it.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. That lots of people upload just stuff like this all the time. This isn't uncommon.
I think you're reading into this too much. These videos are too old to be that kind of meta.
Oh, are these really that? Is he not? I mean, how long has he been up?
They're from 2011.
Oh, then fuck it. Never mind. You're right.
Sean, what's your favorite Dr. KC cover?
None of the above. Baby was pretty funny by Justin Bieber. That gave me a good laugh.
It makes me so happy. Everything about this makes me happy. I'm so glad that this man just likes pop music enough to make these little videos and just share with us his love for songs that he's never heard.
He was a little boy. She said, see you later, boy. He wasn't good enough for her. She had a pretty face, but had walked in the space. She had to come down back to earth.
All right, then, kids, it's time to round out the episode like we always do with a round of shameless plugs from the panel. We'll start this week with Sean Evans. Sean, where can the people find you on the internet?
They can find me on Twitter at sevans8910. That's sevens8910.
Ben Pentecost, where can the people find you?
I am on Twitter at Bentecost, BENTECOST, and also Instagram. You can follow pictures of my cat.
It's a cute cat, can confirm.
True.
And Tyler Reed, thank you for joining us remotely via satellite. Where can the people find you?
Hey, everyone. You can find my design illustration work at tardreed.com, and you can find me on socials as TDR Design on Instagram, Twitter, and I guess maybe Dribble. I'm using that now, which is, if you're not cool and an artist, you're not on it, so don't worry about it.
We get it, Tyler. You're better than us.
Oh.
Well, you can follow me on the socials as at TC Olmstead. You can, of course, like and follow the show. We are at Dudes Brunch. And if you really like us, you can either give us a review on Apple Podcasts or hit that little star button in Overcast and recommend us to all your friends. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we will see you all next week for another episode of Dudes Brunch.